Shana Tova, Gamar Chatima Tova. If you'll please come and find your seats. We'd like to begin this Yom Kippur service.
No, this is mine here. Yay, right, hi, 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 hi. Yay, right, hi, 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 yay, right, hi, 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 yay, right, hi, yay, right, hi. Yay, hi, 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 na 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 hi, 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 ya na hi, 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 yay, hi, ya na 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 hi, 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 ya na 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 hi, 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 ya na 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 hi, 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 na 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 hi, 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 ya na na na. You don't know. Yay, hi, hi, yay, hi, hi, yay, hi, Yay, hi, 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 hi. Yay, hi, 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 da, 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 da. Ya, da, 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 da. Yay, hi, ya, da, 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 da. Ya, da, 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 da. Ya, da, 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 da.
Come in, please take a seat. Come take a seat. The kids in the school asked me if God talks to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel, and Leah, and God talks to Moses, and Jeremiah, and Isaiah, and King David, and King Solomon, how come God doesn't talk to us? So I told them, I'll go ask. And this is what she said. God said, I'm not going to talk to people in a hurry. I'm not going to talk to people in a hurry. Now, I know what today is like, for you like for me. You hurried through work. You hurried to get out of work. You rushed home. If you're on the 405, you're still on the 405. You rushed through dinner. You threw the dishes in the sink. You threw some clothes on. You rushed over here. You parked 22 miles away, or else you parked in front of my driveway. You rushed down here. You rushed through the gate. You rushed down the hall. You rushed into the shul. Take a breath. You're here. Either you're sitting in your seat or someone else is sitting in your seat. Either way, you're making a new friend. It's good. Sit and take a breath. Just take a breath. The new year is here. We have 26 and a half hours to think about who we've become and where we're going and what are the promises of life that we seek. So just take a breath. Just take a breath. The mystical tradition taught that when God created the world, God filled the world with light. But the light was too bright, too powerful. The potential of creation, too much. So God took all that light and hid it. God took all that light and hid it. But the angels came to the Creator and said, without light, the world will not persist. And so God lets a little bit out each day. And so the psalmist wrote, Or zaru ala tzadiku yishre lev simcha. For those who are whole, and those who are ready, and those who are paying attention, and those who are open, there is light everywhere. And all we need to do is gather it in. Take a big, deep breath, slow down, and gather in the light. Or zaru ala tzadik.
Or zaru ala tzadik, ol nitrei lev simcha.
I am grateful to share this holy time with you. I'm grateful to God for the health and the strength to see another Yontif together. I'm grateful to this community for the opportunity to lead prayer, to offer learning, to speak of things important to me. On Rosh Hashanah, I spoke words that ignited a great deal of emotion and conversation and controversy. I'm grateful that you came to listen, especially those who see things different than I do. After the holiday, I would like to offer an opportunity for you to speak and for me to listen. We'll arrange that, and we will announce it. Rosh Hashanah has always been a time for the community to look into itself. Yom Kippur is different. Yom Kippur is intensely personal, an invitation to look within, to reflect and evaluate, to renew the creative powers of the soul and our connection to God. I'm grateful to share this Yontif together with you and to look forward to a new year. Please open your Machzor to page 397. We pray in the middle of the page. Eternal God who calls us to repentance, we are grateful for the opportunity to answer your call, to forsake our sins and turn to you with all our hearts. Yet we know that repentance is difficult. We know that there have been times when we resolved to mend our ways and did not succeed. Even the admission that we have done wrong does not come easily. Our pride is as tall as the mountains. Our vanity as wide as the sea. Excuses abound. But before you there are no secrets. To you all stands revealed. Our pettiness and greed, our selfishness and weakness, our running to do evil, our limping to do good, all these are known to you. We pray all together. On this night of atonement, we yearn to become better than we have been. For you, O Lord, have given us the great gift of atonement, enabling individuals and communities to return to you and do your will. Open our hearts to call of this sacred night, so that the words of our prayers may remain with us to renew us and refine us. May our deeds make us worthy to hear your divine assurance. Salachti, I have forgiven. We rise now all together as the Ark is opened, the Sifrei Torah taken, the beginning of Kol Nidre.
Vishiva shel mala, uvishiva shel mata, al dat hamakom, ve'al dat hakahol, hanu matirin lehitpalel, im ha'avaryanim. Vishiva shel mala, ובישיבה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים. בישיבה של מעלה ובישיבה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים. Nidre ve'asarei v'charamei ve'konamei v'chinuyei v'kinusei u'shavot. Darna unahish tevana hasarna Haratna, haratna ehon. Yehon sharon. Metelin, metalin. Nidre Tana Sarei Vacharamei Vekonamei Vechinuyei Vekinusei O Shalot Nindoreno Sharon, Shevitin, Netenin, Omevotanin, La Sheririn, Nidre Shemotano, La Shemot. Kol Nidre, Vesarei, Vacharamei, Vekonamei, Vachinuyei, Vekinusei, O Shevot. Orehi Shevana, Indorno, Urehish Tebana, Hosarno, Yom Kippurim Zeh, Hare Yom Kippurim, Kol Hon Icharaten Zelin umevotalin. Nidrana. Shavuotana. Nislach lechol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hagar b'tocham ki lechol ha'mishkago v'nislach lechol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hagar b'tocham ki lechol ha'mishkago v'nislach lechol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hagar b'tocham ki lechol ha'mishkago. Slachna la'avonam hazeh b'godel chasdecha v'chasher nasata la'am hazeh mimizra'im ve'areina v'sham Salakti kidvarecha vayomei Salakti kidvarecha vayomei Salakti kidvarecha Salakti kidvarecha Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
We look around the synagogue and see seats of friends who are no longer with us. And we look around the synagogue and see new babies born in this year. We look around the synagogue and see old friends we haven't seen in so very long. And we look around the synagogue and see new friends and associates we've just begun to know. And so we pray together for the gift of this moment and all of its promise and possibilities, with all the gratitude we can muster. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Blessed is God who has given us life and days and enabled us to see this Yom Tov. As soon as Yossi closes the ark, you may be seated. Please be seated. Among the many dear friends who come this evening to hold Torahs for us and to pray with us. We'd like to offer a very special and warm welcome to our dear friend Congressman Brad Sherman, who splits his time, of course, between here and the United States House of Representatives, but who has been a long, long time member of this shul. We want to wish Brad and his family a happy and sweet and healthy new year. And as well, we'd like to welcome a longtime member of the community, a young man whose bar mitzvah I successfully proposed, and that was Jesse Gabriel, who is recently the most recent member of the California State Assembly. So welcome to both of you. Shana Tova. This summer, my wife Nina and I spent 15 precious seconds alone with God. It's true. We were on our way to an international conference of Jewish studies, and we decided to stop for a few days in Rome. And I got a couple of tickets, early bird tickets, to visit the Vatican Museum, which means that only you and 20,000 others get into the Vatican Museum an hour before the gates open. And we had a beautiful young Italian woman who was our guide, and she said, look, it's going to be really crowded. You want to go to the Sistine Chapel first, but don't go the regular way. Go the other way. I mean, she knew Jews. I mean, she knew what we were looking for. So she points us down this hallway and across the way and over this bridge, and we're waiting there, and by some quirk, either coincidence or God has it out for Jews, we're the first in line. The guard looks at us and says, prego, right? Which is not just the name of a wonderful spaghetti sauce, but it invites you in. And he opens the gate, and we walk in. We go down the stairs, up the stairs, down the stairs. I know a shul when I see one. I make a right turn. We walk in, and we are the only two people in the Sistine Chapel for 15 seconds. No, don't joke. So I run to the middle and look up, and there is the most magnificent piece of art in all of Western civilization. You go right to the middle, and you look up, and there's God. Yes, I have to confess, it's true. For 1 second, I thought to myself, gee, this would look nice at VBS, You look up for 1 second, and you look up, and it's beautiful. It's just been redone, and the lights are good now, and the colors are brilliant. And there is that amazing scene, the most iconic scene in Western art. There is the God of creation in all of his ferocity and concentration, reaching out the finger of creation, of power. And there is the languid figure of Adam, receiving God's blessing, and Michelangelo snapped the picture just at the right moment. And what you wonder as you watch it is this the moment that God is reaching toward him to fill him with the power of the world, the power of creativity? Or is this the moment God is withdrawing to give Adam room to live in the world? And we just stood there, the two of us, transfixed at this remarkable image. This most remarkable image of the two fingers just about touching. And then, of course, the room filled up with lots of other people. And we surveyed the entire miraculous ceiling. 9 scenes from the book of Genesis tell the story of the creation of humanity, and then humanity's sinfulness, its downfall, and its fate. God created a perfect world, says Michelangelo. A perfect world, and placed humanity into that world. And humanity fell into sin and became disgraced. And God punished us by separation of heaven from earth, separation of man from God, separation of life from death. Man, declares Michelangelo in the beautiful scenes of that amazing ceiling, man is capable of nobility and beauty and morality and purity, but man is ruined because of his sinful nature. And only the church can rescue him. Only the church can restore that connection, that precious connection between man and God. It is the most beautiful religious textbook in the whole world. And we have one too. We actually have one too. And you're actually holding it in your hands. The Jewish Sistine Chapel is this. It's the Machzor. You see, Traditional Judaism interpreted the second of the Ten Commandments when it said not to make images. They took that very literally, make images of nothing. So we never did plastic arts. And more than that, we were a portable people. We were an exiled people. We had to be ready at any moment to pick up and go. So you don't paint beautiful things on ceilings, and you don't carve monumental statues out of marble. You imagine if Michelangelo had been Jewish, trying to schlep the David from town to town? So what you did instead is the Jewish people invested all of their creative energies, all of their creative geniuses in a portable, non-image-based art form, literature, words. And because we're religious people, religious words, what you hold in your hand is the Jewish Sistine Chapel. This is the greatest work of the Jewish Middle Ages, the greatest work of the Jewish Renaissance, the greatest work, the greatest imaginative, creative enterprise of the Jewish people in all the centuries of our being. And it's more than that, because the story of this book is very different than the story of the Sistine. We actually come from the same motivation. The same motivation. The Sistine Chapel is a reflection on the question, how can it be that a God of such beauty and goodness and purity could leave us in a world so broken, so filled with violence, so filled with corruption? You remember that Pope Julius was off fighting wars. He was conquering Italy and Europe while Michelangelo was trying to paint the ceiling. And he kept having to come and ask for more money so he could finish painting the ceiling, but Julius was too busy blowing up cities. Michelangelo wondered, how could a God let a world like this happen? It is only the inherent sinfulness of human beings, and only pure faith can rescue them. Well, the Jewish tradition starts with the same question. My God, we're the people in exile. We know more about oppression, persecution, and destruction than anybody. And we ask ourselves, how can a God of such love and infinite grace and goodness leave us in a world so broken? But the answer to that question is different for us than the Sistine. The answer to that question is something called tshuva. Before the world was created, taught the rabbis, God created tshuva. Tshuva is the capacity of a human being to look within and to find a truer self. The capacity of a human being to look within and see the destructive patterns, the patterns that lead us to alienation and oppression and violence and destruction, and say, I need to change that pattern. Tshuva is that remarkable ability to measure the actual self against the true self and to lift ourselves up from that brokenness into a purity and a possibility. And the world was created with tshuva because we couldn't live in this world. We couldn't survive divine aspiration and divine judgment without the capacity to say, this year, I'm going to be better. This year, I'm going to try again. This year, I'm going to try to be more charitable, more giving, more loving, more helpful, more open, more calm. This year, I can be the person I am meant to be. The great Maimonides, the great 11th century philosopher, said, imagine all of your sins on one side of a balance and all of your merits on the other, and they balance. Your next act determines your destiny. It's a profound teaching, because Maimonides would take no excuses. He would take no rationalizations. He would take no dodges. It's not your mama's fault that you are what you are. It's not your papa's fault that you are what you are. It's not society's fault that you are what you are. You are responsible for who you are. Responsible for the accumulation of my choices this year, for the words I spoke and the words I should have spoken, for the choices I made and the choices I should have made, for the directions I pointed myself, for the places I invested my energies and my gifts, and all the places I should have. And so I come to this Yom Kippur, and I beg God, give me this other chance. Give me this second chance. I promise you, that the story I will write into the book of life for this year will be different than the story that I wrote last year. Because this year I get it. This year I get it. I looked up at that ceiling, and I saw that finger of God with all of its power reaching toward human beings, saying, I believe in you. God says, I believe in you. That's the great scandal. That's the great triumph. That's the great gift of Jewish faith. It's not only that we believe in God, it's much more powerful to understand that God believes in us, in our power to grow. And that's what we do this Yom Kippur. I sincerely hope you take some time here in Shul while we're sitting together. Out in the world, take a walk. Take a walk someplace and think, who am I? Who have I become? Where have I gone? And where am I going? And what story will I write into the book? What painting will I paint on the ceiling of my existence this coming year? We rise now all together and join in prayer, page 408. The cantor leads us in the Baruch. Seated once again. Baruch atah melech haolam asher
El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Vaed Baruch atah Adonai Yai da dai 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 Yai da dai 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 Yai Amariv Aravim ata Adonai. Ohev amo Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך והיה עם שמות ישמעו ונשמתי אשר on page 416. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת אמונתכם ושם נפשנו כל בכורי מצוות ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל לכנו שירו בשמחה רבה ואמרו חולם מי כמוך ואלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע היום לפני משה זה ליאנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
every Memorial Day, we have a special service honoring those who have served America and Israel, Canada, and around the world protecting our freedom. It's all put together by a wonderful soul, Harvey Keenan, as a member of our shul. And this year we honored women who fought for America and Canada and Israel. And one of our speakers was Lieutenant Colonel Dina DeLucia, who's a really teeny tiny little woman, Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Army. And she sat at that end of the bima, and I sat at this end of the bima, and we were davening Shacharis, and she opened her prayer book and started davening with us. And I say, DeLucia, So I walked across the bima, and I sat down, and I said, who are you? And she said, Dina DeLucia, Cedarhurst, New York. My bat mitzvah was at Beth Shalom. I said, I know Beth Shalom in Cedarhurst. Do you know so-and-so? Of course I do. And we began to chat, and we became close. A few days before Rosh Hashanah, I got a call. My secretary, Janet, she comes in and she says, you have a call from someone who's a lieutenant something or other. I said, well, put it through. I thought I was getting busted or something. And she said, hi, this is Dina. I said, Dina DeLucia. Dina DeLucia? Where are you calling from? Stupid question number one. Afghanistan. Stupid question number two. Where in Afghanistan? Answer, I can't tell you. I'd have to have you killed. Please don't. What can I do for you, Dina? How are you? Are you okay? Is everything? She says, I'll tell you what. She says, there's a group of us here. We're in a forward base. There's a group of us here who would like to pray the high holiday services, but there's no rabbi within hundreds and hundreds of miles. But we do have a computer, so we want to get online, and we want a streamed service that we can watch. Can you send me where I can find one? But it has to be within a certain time coordinate, because they only get off duty at certain times, and it's 12 hours earlier or later there? Earlier there, right. So it has to be in a certain time. So I said, okay, I can arrange that. So I sent it to them, and then I sent to the synagogue that I arranged there, I sent them a note saying, you're going to be watched by a group of soldiers in Afghanistan, so at some time during the service, like wave at them or something. And I said, what else can I do for you? She said, you know, it turns out that there's a couple of people working on the base who are Jewish, and they need a few things. Can I send you a list, a sort of wish list? And I said, sure, you know, so she wants Hanukkah candles and dreidels and things like this, and we'll send that. We'll get it all out to the mail. And then, stupid question number 3. Dina, is it safe there? And there's a long pause, and she said, well, Rabbi, it's Afghanistan. It's Afghanistan. No, seriously. And for a moment, I felt a chill. This wonderful young woman who has devoted her life, she's a lieutenant colonel, I mean, she's a life career member of the military, protecting everything that's dear to us, is out there somewhere. God knows. She said, there's some really good guys around me. We'll take care of ourselves. I said, have confidence that you will, but just, you know how you have our prayers. You have all of our prayers. It's not anonymous to me anymore when they talk about American troops being shed. There's someone out there whose face and name and background and soul that I know. This year, Chris Hardin's son, Ben, joined the Israel Defense Forces. He is now a member of a Nachal unit and is serving on the West Bank, making sure that terrorists can't get into Israel. A kid who we raised here, a kid who we taught here, a kid whose bar mitzvah was celebrated here, a kid who was a teacher of bar mitzvah just a few months ago, wears a uniform, carries a very large machine gun, and stands at a crossroads making sure that commerce proceeds but terrorism stops. And it's no longer anonymous to me either. It is a very rough world out there. And the only reason that we sit here tonight to pray, to reflect, to learn, is because brave men and women have said, I will stand alone. And nothing will get by me. So we pray for them and their families. And we pray for all of those who stand that line and protect the security and freedom and the dreams that we enjoy and we share with our children. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Let us lie down tonight in peace. V'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim, and raise us up in the morning to life. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, spread over us the sukkah, the shelter of your peace. V'taknenu beitzat tova milfanecha, make it right for us. V'hoshienu leman shemecha, and protect us. V'yagein bi'adenu v'yaser me'aleinu oyev deve v'cher v'ravi yagon, remove from us all that threatens, all that brings nightmares. Hasan haser satan milfanenu me'acharenu. Uvitzel kenafecha tastirenu, protect us, God, beneath the wings of your presence. Ki el shomrenu matzilenu ata, because we have always looked to you, God, as a source of protection and love. Ki el melech hanun v'rachum ata. Ushmor tzeitenu voenu l'chaim u'shalom mi'ata v'ad olam. Protect those we send out in the world and bring them home in wholeness and peace. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, baruch ata Adonai, praised are you, God. Haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, who spreads your peace over us, over Israel, and over Yerushalayim.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim, ofros aleinu sukkot shelomecha, v'takneinu be'etzat tova milfanecha.
Rise all together. Lord, take
Ki vayom hazeh yichaper aleichem litaher atzchem mikol chatoteichem lifnei Adonai titaro yitkadal v'yikadosh shemei rabah v'yalema divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלדה ובזמן קריב לאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רב המבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתמר ותרומה מן עצי, מן הדר מתעלה מתהלל, שמי לקודשה. בריחו לעילה ולעילה, מכל מרנה משירותה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן ועלמה והמרו, אמן.
Take a few moments now for quiet and personal prayer, the words of the Amidah recited to ourselves, pages 424 through 440.
Adonai os le'amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai os le'amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo.
Rise together as the ark is opened. Ya'aleh v'yavo v'yera'eh, page 446 in your Machzor. Is closed. You please be seated. David Spiegel is the president of Valley Beth Shalom. We welcome him to the Bima for a few words about the synagogue tonight at Yom Kippur.
I hope your holidays have been meaningful and special. Many of you I've known for years. Many more I've had the pleasure of meeting. Some of you I have not had the opportunity to meet and get to know, but will soon. I'm David Spiegel. Michelle and I have been members at VBS for over 33 years. We met in high school, yes, high school sweethearts, and graduated UCLA together. We have 2 adult children. Nicole Eigler is a social worker and is an active member of the VBS school community. Daniel Spiegel is the Director of Advancement at the Liner School at Sinai Temple. Nikki is married to Micah, and they have our 2 grandchildren. Both grandchildren go to school here at VBS. Danny is married to Elisa, and they are expecting their first child in January. I have been on the VBS board for 16 years. I am also on the Ziegler Advisory Board. I own a bowling center in Tacoma, Washington. Michelle is a past co-president of the VBS Sisterhood and has been in many board positions at the Jewish Federation. We both went through the para-rabbinic classes taught by Rabbi Schulweis. Both of us feel that volunteering has enriched our lives. Enough about us, though. There are so many things about our wonderful VBS community that I would like to share. Let's look at what has been achieved in the last few years at Valley Beth Shalom. Through the efforts of Nancy Sher Cohen, Jeff Levine, Bart Patino, and others, we have raised over $30 million towards the building campaign. The construction of the Levine Community Center and the Rosen Library are nearing completion. Many of you have given to the campaign, and we thank you. More than our thanks, our children and grandchildren thank you for creating a valuable place for them to learn Jewish values, Jewish wisdom, and most importantly, giving them a place to be with other Jews for decades to come. This community center and library complex will be used for play, for services, to study, have performances, and much more. And this is just the start of the construction project. Soon we will be starting the new cinder entry pavilion and garden to our campus, making entering the main building for events and services much more accessible, spiritual, and welcoming. I hope that in the not too distant future, I will be invited to one of your children's weddings that will be held outdoors in our new garden. Not too far in the future, this Niznik sanctuary will be transformed with more intimate seating, natural light, and the Schulweis Chapel will be more open for prayer and learning. I am certain that many more of you will want to be part of this campaign to make VBS a better place for our children and grandchildren. You'll hear more about that later. Construction is only one visible item of focus. Our schools continue to be the leaders in the Jewish community. We have a waiting list for our early childhood center. Better sign up now for your infant children and grandchildren. Our Etz Chaim Learning Center, our Hebrew school, is being studied by other schools for its innovative academy programs, bringing Hebrew school learning into the 21st century. Our fabulous day school continues to be a shining star with about 230 students. We want the best for our children and our grandchildren. We want to make them proud Jews, future leaders of our community. And I am so proud to say that Abby Mars, Carrie Loventhal, Rabbi Deborah Schuldenfrei, our school leaders, are proving that. Our schools also depend on the help and leadership of all the parents and members who give so much of their time on the school boards, committees, and just general helpers. This community of parents, educators, and children are our future. This is part of what our community is about. What praises have not been said about our clergy? Our rabbis and cantors are the best of the best. Have you been to a wedding led by one or more of them? Have you attended services led by them? How about the learning opportunities they provide? But don't forget all the times our clergy are there for us and our families when needed. Someone has passed away. A family member is in the hospital. A family member needs counseling. They make the time to be there, to be with us, to hold us and cry with us, to help us know that there is hope. They are also there to share our simchas, the weddings, b'nai mitzvot, baby namings and brisses. The clergy are our blessed, part of our blessed community. Have you taken the time to be fellow congregants? Michelle and I have made many close friends at VBS over the past 30 years. The welcoming, warmth, the opportunity to be with such wonderful and caring people, people who know how to have fun and know what an extended family means, people who understand Jewish values. Have you joined us at the many group activities that are offered? Look at our website or call our office to find out about the many fun social opportunities, events where you can be with other congregants, where you can make lifelong friends. Learning opportunities are countless. Maybe you have attended a sisterhood, brotherhood, or VBS Connect event. Have you been to one of our lay-led services, the library minion or the playground minion? If you're over 55 or older, have you taken part in the fabulous Azak program? Are you part of the large percentage of our members who come to events and get to know other members? Because of all these activities, we have many second and third generation members, members who understand how growing up to be Jewish is more than just saying they are Jewish. They are a testament that we are doing the right things. I could go on and on. This is just part of what our community is about. We have wonderful lay leadership, people who give of their time to be on the board of directors or on committees. These members not only feel more fulfilled, but also make new friends and get a chance to work with and to know our clergy better. They also make a difference in making our community what it is and shapes it towards a better future. If you want to be part of this leadership, let me know. We all need Valley Beth Shalom to be part of our lives. We want to feel its warmth, develop and strengthen friendships, be given the wisdom of our clergy. We need to make certain that VBS continues to nurture our children and grandchildren, and it is here to nurture their children and grandchildren. Reach out and find out how you can be more involved, how you can be more fulfilled, how you can make new friends, how you can make this a place for our future. You and I are what VBS community is all about. Gemar Chatima Tova.
I went to see a friend in the hospital. The parking lot of the hospital was so very, very full that I had to park way, way at the end and walk a long way. And after spending time with my friend, I got out to get back to my car. You ever been in one of these parking lots and someone follows you back to your space? So I'm walking back to the space, and there is a brand new, can I say that? A Maserati? Is that what it's called? Right? You can give me one. It's okay. There's a brand new Maserati following. I mean, a beautiful, beautiful automobile. And she's following me. I mean, she's following me like blocks and blocks all the way back to my parking place. And I get into my 12-year-old Toyota minivan, and I pull out, and Mrs. Maserati pulls into my space. And it occurred to me, what a strange symbol. She drives this very, very beautiful, expensive car. And I'm sure the rest of her life is equally beautiful and expensive. And I drive this pretty ordinary car. But when it comes to sickness, and it comes to health, and it comes to death, and it comes to the vulnerability of being a human being, we're all equal. Sickness and death know no class lines. Sickness and death, the vulnerability, know no differentiations, no income inequality. We all feel equally helpless at that moment when a loved one is stricken and we don't know quite what to do to bring them back from the darkness and the pain. And as I'm as I pulled out and I started to drive, I see that she's walking, and it's a very long way to the entrance of the hospital. So I rolled down the window, and I said, "Would you like a ride? Because it's quite a ways." And I don't know what it was that gave it away that I was a rabbi. I don't know whether it was the kippah on my head or the 12-year-old Toyota minivan. But she said, "Are you a rabbi?" And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am." And she said, "Could you say a prayer for my mom?" And I said, "Sure." So I found I double parked the car in the sort of circle there and asked the Lord God not for a ticket. And I went upstairs into the hospital with her. And I asked her, "Tell me your mom's name. Tell me where you're from. Tell me about your mother. Tell me what made her happy in life. Tell me what her sources of strength and inspiration are. Tell me what it is you love most with her. Tell me where she comes from." And she told me all these wonderful stories about her mom. And then when the moment was right, I said, "Okay, come hold hands now." And we held hands, and we said a prayer together. My prayers are very powerful. My prayers are powerful, but they can't heal sickness. My prayers are very powerful, but they can't cure disease. My prayers are powerful, but they can't shrink tumors or reverse the deterioration of an organ. My prayers can only do one thing. They can remove the terrible sense of loneliness. Because all of us suffer. At some time or another, all of us will know that terrible, frightening vulnerability of a body which is failing. But we don't have to suffer alone. We don't have to suffer alone. The entire ethos, the entire story, the narrative of this holiday is to push in our faces the terrible vulnerability of being a human being, the helplessness. Mi yechyeh u'mi yamut, mi bekitzo, mi lo bekitzo. We live and we're going to die, and we will die at the right time, and we will die before our time, and we will know disease and health, and we will know wandering and peace. All of us will know that, and there isn't anything that you can do to stop that. That is called the human condition. But there are three things that we can do, says this tradition. Tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, mavirin et roah hagzera. You do tshuva. You turn yourself around and say, "I can't control the conditions of my existence, but I can control my response. Whether the life I've lived turns me bitter and angry and mean, or whether the life I've lived makes me gentle and compassionate and soft is entirely my decision." That's tshuva. We decide. You and I know people that have gone through the worst of circumstances and come out the nicest people. It's tshuva. It means to turn and to say, "I will learn from this, and I will become deeper." And tefillah means that we can share the terrifying moments and the sweet moments, the difficult moments and the exalted moments, and we can share them. We can find words and hold each other and sing together. And tzedakah means we can hold each other and reach out a hand. The great Italian novelist Primo Levi tells a story about when he was a 15-year-old in Auschwitz. He got sick, terribly, terribly sick. And there was a man who shared his barracks and saw that this boy was dying of sickness. And the man tore his bread ration in half and gave it to Levi. And the extra rations saved him. And when he recovered, he went to the man and said, "Thank you, that was a terribly dangerous thing to do. You've given so little food. So little food. Why would you tear it in half and give it to a stranger?" And the man looked at him quizzically and said, "No, you don't understand. I didn't save you. You saved me. You gave me the opportunity to be human again. I am a slave here to these Nazis, but you gave me the chance to be an angel again, to give, to help, to heal, to nurture, to lift up. You saved me." That's tzedakah. These are the tools this tradition has given us to cope with the frightening vulnerability of being a human being. I held this woman's hand and I held her mother's hand. And we turned away from that ever-present monitor that tells you oxygen levels and pulse rates and blood pressures, and we turned and looked into each other's eyes. The psalmist said, Gam ki elech begeit salmavet lo iraraki ata imadi. I walk now through the valley of the shadow of death, but I'm not afraid because you're with me. And we held hands hard. You're with me. You're the one who's here. You are present. And that makes all the difference. That makes all the difference. We can face death. We can face sickness. We can face suffering. We can face all of the maladies of being a human being, but we don't have to face them alone. And so we gather Yom Kippur and face all that vulnerability. But we sing together and pray together and hold each other together. Shema kolenu Adonai Eloheinu, listen to our voice, dear God. Chus v'rachem aleinu, spread joy, love, gentleness upon us. V'kibel barachamim uvratzon et tfilatenu, accept our prayers as we listen to the prayers of one another and as we share the prayers of one another. We rise all together now as the Ark is open, page 458.
Ashiveinu Adonai Elecha, Ashiveinu Elecha v'nashuva, Chodesh Yameinu, Yameinu kekedesh.
please remain standing as the ark is closed. Eloheinu v'Elahei avotenu tavo lefanecha tfilatenu va'al tit'alem mitchinatenu. She'en anachnu azei panim k'shorei aref lamar lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elahei avotenu tzadikim anachnu lo chatanu aval anachnu chatanu, page 462. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our prayers come before you, and may you not ignore our pleas. We are neither so arrogant nor so stubborn as to declare that we are righteous and have not sinned, for indeed we have sinned. The first public recitation of the confession, page 462, Ashamnu.
Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Barnu Dofi,
Hevinu,
Hevinu,
Vehirshanu,
Hirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Hamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Alnu Shekera,
Yatsnu Ra, Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latsnu,
Latsnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Yatsnu,
Niatsnu,
Sararnu,
Saranu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Pashanu,
Ashanu,
Sararnu, Kishinu Orez, Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tahinu, Titanu,
Sarnu mitzvotecha mishvotecha tavir shavalanu v'ata tzadik v'yalkov elenu ki emet asita v'anachnu hirshanu. The Great Confession, Al Chetcha Chatanu Lifanecha, page 466, please. Al Chetcha Chatanu Lifanecha b'imutz
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בביטוי שפתיים, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדיבור פה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהרהור הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בווידוי פה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחילול השם, ועל כולם אלוה הסליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפרנו, ועל כולם אלוה הסליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, סלח לנו מחלנו כפרנו.
Pray together on the very next page. For the sin of the hardened heart, and for the sin of the tale-bearing lips, for the sin of the lustful look, and for the sin of the pious mask, for the sin of enjoying violence, and for the sin of polluting your earth, for the sin of debasing our speech, and for the sin of degrading your name, for the sin of the yes that was no, and for the sin of the promise unkept. For all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and grant us atonement.
ועל כולם אלוה הסליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפרנו, ועל כולם
sin of the covetous eye, and for the sin of the haughty head, for the sin of the insensitive soul, and for the sin of the mocking voice, for the sin of the clenched fist, and for the sin of the deceitful smile, for the sin of eating too much, and for the sin of drinking too hard, for the sin of not hearing the oppressed, and for the sin of closing our eyes. For all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us and pardon us, and grant us atonement. Of the service concludes on page 472. Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lifanecha. Avinu Malkeinu En Lena Melech Ela Ata. Avinu Malkeinu Chazirenu B'tshuva Shlema Lifanecha Kadesh.
Avinu Malkeinu Kodveinu Mesefer HaChaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu Kodveinu Mesefer Geula Vishua. Avinu Malkeinu Kodveinu Mesefer Parnasa V'Chalkala. Avinu Malkeinu Kodveinu Mesefer Zechuyot. Avinu Malkeinu Kodveinu Mesefer Selicha Umechila. Avinu Malkeinu Chaneinu V'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu Chaneinu V'Aneinu Ki ein banu masim Asei banu Tzedaka v'chesed Asei banu Tzedaka v'chesed V'hoshienu Avinu Malkeinu Choneinu v'Aneinu Avinu Malkeinu Choneinu v'Aneinu Ki ein banu masim Asei banu Tzedaka v'chesed Asei banu Tzedaka v'chesed V'hoshienu.
Please be seated. After the Great Fire that destroyed much of London in 1666, the Crown engaged Sir Christopher Wren, Renaissance man and the greatest architect in Europe, to rebuild the city, including the Cathedral of St. Paul. The story is told that every day Sir Christopher went out to survey the building site, and he could do so with anonymity because internet was very slow in 1666, and nobody knew what he looked like. So one day he goes to the building site and he sees a man moving heavy stone blocks. And he stops and asks him what he's doing. And the worker looks at him with disdain, looks at this finely dressed gentleman who's never done a hard day's work in his life, and he wipes his brow and he complains, "Sir, I am a human beast of burden. I move stones from here to there. Don't ask me why. I haven't time for your musings. I have work to do." So Sir Christopher excuses himself and he walks around the corner to the next corner of the building site. And there he sees a man doing the exact same job. And he stops him and he asks him what he's doing. And the man looks up, and with a brighter expression on his face, he wipes his brow and he answers, "Sir, I am working to support my family. I have a wife and children and elderly parents, and it's my task to see that they're provided for. Each stone I move feeds my family another day." Sir Christopher thanked him, and he moved around yet another corner of the building site and finds yet another man doing the exact same work. And he asked again, "What are you doing?" But this man stands up, straightens his back, wipes his face, and looks up at the great cathedral that is rising behind him, and smiles broadly, and he answers with pride, "Sir, I am helping Sir Christopher build a house of God, a place of hope and joy and song, a place where the bereaved will find comfort, the searching will find truth, and the wandering will find a home. Holy work this is, and I'm grateful to be doing it." We too are building a house of God, a place of home, of hope, of song, and of joy. We're building a place where children will learn to sing the songs of their ancestors, where elders will find community, and we will all find Torah's wisdom and truth. The Torah teaches Lo Bashamayim Hi. Community, learning, spirituality does not live in the heavens. It's not an abstraction. It lives here in this world, in our reality, and it requires a material foundation. You need a room. You need a place for kids to learn. You need a room for friends to meet. You need a room for people to pray. You need a room that should reflect all the beauty and love and commitment of the community that gathers, a room that reflects its status as a house of God. The last time Valley Beth Shalom expanded and renewed these facilities was 30 years ago in 1988. The time has come again. We are a community that is growing younger, that is growing more active. Most nights, this building is full. On a Sunday morning, you can't find a room for a meeting. Yossi Dresner, where is he? Yossi Dresner, wherever he is, there he is. Yossi Dresner teaches his beautiful adult bar and bat mitzvah class in the bride's room. Unless there's a wedding, in which case the bride moves into his office. Because there's no place else in the building on a Sunday morning to teach a class. So years ago, we began a project of planning and visioning and designing, and we began asking families for their support. The synagogue made a commitment not to assess its members, not to take a mortgage that would burden a new generation, but to build this project with the generous support of our families. And to date, as David said, I am proud to tell you that we've passed the $30 million mark from 170 families, and we are grateful. We are so grateful for each and every one of these families. A few years ago, this building project was a dream, but today the building is very real. The Howard and Irene Levine Community Center, the Rosen Family Library, will open this new year. You can see it. You can see the progress every day when you drive down Ventura Boulevard. As we complete the building, we expect to begin construction of the Cinder Entrance Pavilion and Garden. And we have completed the conceptual designs of the new Nizhnik Sanctuary. You can see the design on the video in the hallway. This will be our sanctuary, our house of God for the next generation. This Yontif, we are especially grateful to Rita and Jack Cinder, who came to my office unexpectedly a few weeks ago to tell me that the future of the synagogue was so important to them that they were substantially increasing their already generous gift. They answered a call. The call said, Hineni. Jack and Rita have taught us again and again and again to do the holy work and to dream big and to reach higher. And they're not alone. Risa and Jerry Nizhnik, Lee and Rachel Rosen, and so many others, inspired by the progress of this construction, have stepped forward this year to add to their gifts, assuring that we will complete this project. And now it's your turn. It's your turn to make a gift, or to add to a gift, and to share this dream. Like Sir Christopher Wren, I can tell you that building is hard and difficult work. But just as he learned, we take on this task because we know that we are building for our children and for their children. And more, it is an inspiring task. We are building a house of God, the center of Jewish life and culture and community. Nina and I have made the biggest charitable donation of our lives to this building project because this synagogue educated our kids, supported us in times of grief, and celebrated our simchas. We wanted to be able to say to our children every time we pass by here, we built this for you. And I want you to say the same. I want you to be able to say, we built this for you. This is our gift to the next generation. And we want every family to have a part of this. Whatever you can afford, whatever you can reasonably handle, we want you included in this great project. There is a card at your seat, has your name on it. It says, Hineni, here I am. Count on me. Take that card before we leave tonight. It has your name on it. It says you are ready to participate in building a new VBS for a new generation. And if you are, when you leave the synagogue, in the boxes outside on the table, please drop the card. Just drop the card into the box and we'll get in touch with you. You don't have to say how much. Just Hineni. I'm here. I want to help. This matters to me. At the boxes in the hall, you can learn more about the donor opportunities. We want to say once again thank you to all the families that have already stepped forward, and thank you to all who will, to all who say Hineni, count on me. Thanks so much. Take the card, don't lose it, and make sure it's your card you put in the box, unless you know somebody who should be giving a gift. Page 476, Kaddish Shalem. If there's a cantor in the room, give me a little cantor.
יתגדל ויגרשם רבה, ואלמד יברח ירצה וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, וגלו בזמן קריב וימרו, יהי שווה במברך, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ינסה, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשו, בריחו לעילה ולעילה מכל גרד בשירתה, תוש בגד ונחמתה, דם ירם וימה וימרו, תקבל צלעות הונו ועד הון לכל ישראל, קודם אבנים ושמי וימרו, יהי שלמה רבה מן שמי וחיים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו, עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמרו אמן, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Okay. He sat before me, a typical petulant 13-year-old. It was a week before his bar mitzvah, and he'd announced to his family last night at dinner that he didn't believe in God and didn't want a bar mitzvah. They didn't know what to do. Cancel the simcha? The invitations already went out. The caterer was already paid. The yarmulkes were already on order. Send him to the rabbi. So here he sat in front of me. You don't believe in God? I asked him. No, he confessed, with eyes cast downward, like he just told the vice principal that it was his spitball that hit the head cheerleader. Okay, let's talk. He looked up at me relieved that I wasn't going to take out my Dumbledore wand and place a curse on him. You don't believe in God. Okay. When you say that, what do you mean by God? That was a question he didn't expect. You're a rabbi, you know God. Yeah, I know, but it's a slippery word. What do you mean when you say God? God. You know, God. God is a spirit. God is invisible, but he's everywhere. God watches us. He punishes us when we're bad. He rewards us when we're good. You know, God. I can't believe in that anymore, Rabbi, because there's just too much bad stuff in the world with terrorism and hurricanes and wars. I just can't believe in that. Good. I don't believe in that either, I responded. But let me tell you something. That's not God. That's Santa Claus. You know, he knows if you've been sleeping. He knows if you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. That's Santa Claus. I don't believe in him either. But you're a rabbi. You're religious. Yeah, but being religious doesn't mean I give up my intelligence. Let me ask you something. Do you have any pictures of yourself when you were a little kid? She says, sure. My mom says I was very cute. I'm sure you were. Can you still wear those clothes? The clothes you wore when you were small? No, I grew out of them years ago. And if you tried to put them on, they'd be pretty uncomfortable, right? Yeah. Well, you've outgrown your idea of God. You still have a kid's idea of God. And now you're starting to think like a grown-up. And just as your clothes don't fit anymore, your ideas don't fit. You need a grown-up God. A grown-up God? What's a grown-up God? He's not alone, you know. Not alone in his disbelief. According to a recent survey of American Jewish identity, some 35% of younger American Jews define themselves as Jewish without religion. If you ask, they complain that religious institutions are authoritarian and boring and expensive. They find religious teaching irrelevant and ritual hollow. But if you probe a bit more, you come to this. It just doesn't make sense. What religion teaches us is just not my truth. Through no fault of their own, they are mature thinking, critically minded adults working off a child's religious script. They've outgrown their ideas of God. What's a grown-up idea of God, he asks me. Where do we find this God? Where do we start? Splitting seas? Burning bushes? Nope. We start with ordinary experience. When my daughter Nessa was 3 years old, we had a routine. Each night I would tuck her into bed, sing our bedtime prayers, kiss her goodnight, and attempt to sneak out of the room. Halfway down the hall, she began to scream, "Abba! There's an alligator under my bed! There's a monster in the closet! There's a giant spider on the ceiling! Abba!" Now, I read Parents Magazine, which is the Shulchan Aruch of parenting, so I know what to do. You walk back in the kid's room, you turn on every light, you look under the bed. No alligator, Ness. I check the closet. No monsters, Nessa. I survey the ceiling. No spiders, Nessa. Now go to bed. Tomorrow is coming. You got to get some sleep. Everything is safe. Go to bed. I love you. Okay, Abba, she says, but leave a light on. We did this dance for an entire year, until one night I stopped and realized what just happened. I stopped myself in the middle of the hallway and asked myself a question. Who's right? Whose description of the world is factually correct? The child afraid of alligators under the bed, or the father who reassures her that everything is safe and that tomorrow is surely coming? The truth is that the child is correct. She doesn't know the names of the alligators under her bed. She doesn't know about the diseases of the body and diseases of society, of terrorists and lunatics who steal away our future. We grown-ups know all these threats too well, all the threats that surround us, and yet we still insist to our children that the world is safe enough to trust, at least for this one night. All loving parents do this. Nobody says, "You know, kid, you're right. The world is a cold, evil place full of monsters. Go to bed." Nobody says that. Even the most hard-boiled atheist whispers to the child, "Tomorrow is coming. You're safe tonight. Go to sleep." The most precious gift we give our children is our faith that the world is theirs. that the world welcomes them and celebrates their arrival, that the world anticipates their uniqueness, and that the world is so arranged that they can thrive. Of course, there are threats and dangers, but we know we can equip them to cope. Latent in the vocation of parenting is a system of beliefs about the nature of the world. This view of the world is not factual, and yet every parent believes it. This is the faith of parenting. Faith is not an assent to a creed. It is not a testimony to some proposition or some catechism. Faith is lived. Beneath all our everyday actions and choices and decisions is an implicit system of beliefs. This system of beliefs forms a map that describes the world, its dangers and its opportunities, its pitfalls and possibilities. The map points us toward what we deem to be success, where happiness is, how to get there, and it helps us anticipate what we're going to meet along the way. Everyone has a map, and what's on the map is not empirical, it's not factual, it can't be proven scientifically. It's proven by the life we choose to live. Most of us give to charity. How come? Why do you give to charity? Because we believe that charity heals the world. But how do we know that? What if it turned out that there's a given amount of suffering in the world at any one time, and healing it over here only transfers it over there? We cured malaria, we were afflicted with polio. We cured polio, we were afflicted with cancer. We treat cancer, we got AIDS. We stopped AIDS, we found Ebola. How do you know that the world can be healed? You don't. You just believe it. Because believing it makes you the person you want to be. You know what a bar mitzvah is? I ask my young friend. It's when you begin choosing your map. You begin to decide who you most want to be. But where is God in all this, he insists. Where is God? God's coming, I assure him. But you don't start with God. You start by trying to make sense of life. Okay, but what is God? What is God anyway? It's a question of how big your map is. The Gerer Rebbe was a great 19th century Hasidic master in Poland. He wrote a letter to his children all about God. We say the Shema Yisrael every day, twice a day, the Rebbe taught, but no one stops to think about what it means. He writes, the meaning of Adonai Echad, God is one, he wrote, is not that God is the only God, negating other gods, though this too is true. The meaning is deeper than that. There's nothing else but God. Everything that exists in the world, spiritual and physical, is God himself. And because of this, every person can attach himself to God wherever he is through the holiness that exists within every single thing. I tell my young friend, imagine you're standing in front of a big mirror. Now touch your head. Now touch your arms. Now touch your legs. Now touch your belly. Now touch your self. My what? You know, yourself. The part of you that's really you. Touch your self. He's flummoxed. We all have a sense of self. That inner voice that's you. We become aware of it somewhere at the age of 2. It's the most remarkable part of us. It lives in the body, but it's not entirely of the body. That's why you can't find it to touch. You could lose any part of your body, but you'd still be you because you'd still have a sense of self. But what is it? What is self? The most immediate and intimate part of our being is a mystery. The Talmud offers this insight. What God is to the world, the self is to the body. So let's turn it upside down. What self is to each one of us, God is to the universe. Imagine that the entire universe is a body, and God is the self of the universe. In Torah, God has a personal name. In Hebrew, it's spelled Yud Hey Vav Hey. It's unpronounceable. It's a conflation of the words for was, is, and will be. All that was, all that is, and all that will be, all three pronounced at the same time. That's what makes it unpronounceable. But it has implications that are very powerful. If we imagine the universe as a body and God as the self of the universe, then what are we? Each of us is a cell in the body of God. Just as each cell has a special function in the body, each of us is a unique and precious expression of the whole of God with a unique role to play in the life of the world. Each of us is needed. Each of us is necessary for the health, the well-being of the whole. And at the same time, each of us is supported by the whole, just as a cell is nurtured by the body. What happens in a body when one cell decides it wants to go it alone, to go rogue and see its own way with no regard to the well-being of the whole? That's called disease. That's cancer. What cancer is to a body, evil is to the world. It's when one of us forgets that we're connected to the whole social ecology, when we forget that we are responsible for everyone else. The counterpart to the verse Adonai Echad is the commandment Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You will love the other as yourself, because in reality, the other is yourself. We are forbidden from making any image of God, because God is the all. But there's one exception. There's only one exception to that commandment. The philosopher Abraham Joshua Heschel taught that God broke his own rule when he created human beings in the divine image. Taught Heschel, it's not that we can't make an image out of God, but that the only material out of which you can make an adequate image of God is the entirety of a human life. Religion, Heschel taught, begins with a consciousness of something asked of us, to live a life that reflects the oneness of all. Rabbi Schulweis called this godliness. I asked him where he got it from. I thought it would be some sophisticated text, Feuerbach or Maimonides. He said, no, I got it from the bracha, from the simplest formula of Jewish prayer, the bracha we all say. Every bracha, he taught, has a subject and a predicate. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, praised is God, that's the subject. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, that's the predicate. But why a predicate? If all we wanted to do is praise God, all we needed was the subject. Baruch atah Adonai, praise God, stop there. Why a predicate? We add the predicate, he taught. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, rofei cholim, matir asurim, God who makes bread from the earth, God who heals the sick, God who brings peace to the world. Because the true meaning of the bracha is to focus attention on the power of this act to reflect the oneness of all. When I feed the hungry, when I heal the sick, when I comfort the bereaved, when I nurture a child, I become the hands and eyes and ears of God in the world. I bring together the broken pieces of the world and make them into one. So what makes this so hard? What makes God so hard for people? It's ego. It's the infantile scream, me, mine. It's the voice that puts me at the center of the universe. Religion comes to teach us how to quiet that voice. That's what prayer is really all about. It's not about praising a God out there. It's about quieting the voice of the ego, to quell the screaming voice demanding attention, attention, attention. Our most important prayer, Shema Yisrael. It's not a prayer to God at all. It's a plea. It's a plea within. Listen. Listen. Quiet the internal noise and listen, because from listening comes humility, and from humility, gratitude, and from gratitude, empathy, and from empathy, solidarity and commitment. Religion teaches us to recognize it's not about me, or more precisely, that the boundaries of me are much bigger than I thought. When I give up the small infantile self to gain a larger spiritual self. Right under the word Shema in the Torah is the word ve'ahavta. You will love. When I love, I give up the smaller self to become a bigger self. When I love, I surrender the self to discover the self. When I open the tightly drawn circle of self, when I unfold my map and discover that it's so much bigger than I thought, something awakens inside of me, and I'm filled with a sense that I matter, that my life matters. I discover the larger coherence of life, its pattern, its meaning, its purpose. My young friend sits back in his chair. That's God? That's it? That's God? Yes. But there's one more step. You may not understand this today, but someday you're going to need to know this. So just listen. We all carry a map. And as long as our experiences fit into the picture, as long as they follow the map remains unconscious and unexamined. But we have no reason to look at it too carefully or to wonder where it came from. But every so often, something knocks us off the map. Life doesn't roll out the way it was supposed to. And in the ensuing crisis, a sense of disequilibrium sets in. And we're forced to take out the map and take a good look at it. And ask ourselves, what map do I use now? 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with a very dangerous cancer. It was dangerous enough that a doctor literally asked me if my life insurance was paid up. One heck of a bedside manner, that one. A surgery was scheduled, and I had a week to wait. What do you do during such a week? How do you spend a week waiting to find out if you're going to live or die? It was during that week that I discovered the question all the Torah I know had come to answer. Looking into the darkness one very, very dark night, I wondered, is the core of reality dark and cold and empty, and life but a happy biochemical accident on this tiny planet? Or is the heart of reality life, creativity, and benevolence, and we are the vessels, the instruments of that energy? Is death the normal state of things and life the aberration? Or is life the rule and death the exception? Which is the absolute and which is derivative? Which is the norm and which is the exception? In the Bible, there's a book called Job. It tells an ancient story, it's even older than our Bible, about a good and righteous man who suffers every imaginable loss. He turns his eyes toward heaven and he screams, "Why me? Why me, God?" For his entire life, he had preached the justice of God and the goodness of God. And now, where was that justice and where was that goodness? How could he suffer so? For 35 beautiful literary chapters, Job rages against heaven, asking again and again what so many of us have asked, why me? And finally, at the end of the book, God shows up. God shows up to answer him, but not like Elijah, not with a still small voice. God shows up in a hurricane and screams at Job, "Who is this who darkens counsel, speaking without knowledge? Gird your loins like a man, I ask, and you inform me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Speak if you have understanding. Have you ever commanded the dawn to break, assigned the day its place? Have you surveyed the vast expanses of the earth?" God, in the book of Job, takes man on a grand tour of the world of nature, and he asks him again and again and again, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are anyway? Who are you to question me? You don't matter. You are insignificant. This isn't about you. Your suffering isn't a moral judgment because you're not important enough for judgment. In the grander scheme of things, you're nothing. You're nobody. You're invisible. You'll never meet a Jewish person named Job. We have Avis and Davids and Mordechais and Yerachmiels and Yaakovs, but we got no Jobs because it's not a Hebrew name. It's older than Hebrew. It comes from the very first Mesopotamian language, the Akkadian language. And in the Akkadian language, in Akkadian culture, the name Job, Eov in Hebrew, the name Job, it means everyman. John Doe, occupant. I get a lot of his mail. Job is a cipher for the common human experience, and the common human experience is to understand reality from facing nature. Facing nature, the common human experience is nature doesn't care. Nature is indiscriminate. The wind blows, the rain soaks, the earthquake rattles the righteous together with the sinful. Staring into the face of nature, what does my life mean? My life means very little. A precious few years, a few accomplishments, a few moments of love. Cancer comes and wipes it all away, and then nothingness. It all dissolves into oblivion. But every biblical story has its opposite, its counterpuntal melody. The Talmud teaches that Job lived at the same time as Abraham. Abraham was commanded, Lech lecha me'artzecha, go from your home, your native land, your father's house, to the land that I will show you. Abraham was commanded, I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and as for you, heyeh bracha, be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you, and in you shall all the families of the earth be blessed. One man is singled out to carry divine blessing into the world. He's covenanted. He's bound into partnership with God, and he's the father of us all. Each of us carries a piece of that blessing into the world. We are a part of God's self, and each of us reflects the light at the center of the universe. Each of us matters. Two stories, Job and Abraham, both in the Bible. Two completely different religious universes. Two alternative maps of the world. You choose. You choose. I carry a map of my life. Is my map just a single page that dissolves when I do? Or is my map a tile in a great mosaic that stretches into eternity? No empirical evidence can answer this question. It's completely a matter of orientation. We choose. And in choosing, it changes everything. Am I here in the world to enjoy this brief, momentary individuality? Or am I a reflection of an eternal evolution of life, creativity, and blessing? Am I the hands of God in the world? That's the question that Torah comes to answer. Now your map isn't just bigger, it extends forever. Believing in God isn't something you do once. It's a journey, it's a process. It's a discovery of your map. It's part of deciding who you're going to be in the world, what kind of person, how you want to touch the world. And that's why you need to have a bar mitzvah. He says, okay. What's your Torah, I ask him. And he tells me the name of his parsha. I said, no, I don't mean that. What's your Torah? There are 5,845 verses in a Torah scroll. That's 304,805 handwritten letters. And if even one is missing, if even one is erased or defaced, you're not allowed to use that Torah. The Torah becomes puzzle. Now that's a great example of Jewish obsessive-compulsive disease. But it has a truth behind it, a very profound truth. Each one of us stands for one. Each letter in the Torah stands for one of us. Each letter in the Torah stands for one of us. Each one of us is sent into the world with a word, with a phrase, with a sentence of God's truth. If any one of us fails to deliver his or her word, the message becomes indecipherable. You have a Torah. You are a Torah. You're a truth sent here to testify. You're given a truth to deliver. Now go find it and make sure the world hears it. You too, all of you, this is your Yom Kippur homework. You have a Torah. You are a Torah. You were sent into the world to announce and declare and testify to a truth. Now go find it and make sure the world hears it. Amen. Please return to the Machzor. We rise together as the ark is opened. Aleinu l'shabeach. Somewhere.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורמנו ככל המונם.
ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, 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 יהיה אדוני אחד. ביום ההוא, 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 יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
There are those of us this Yontif who mourn loved ones, observe Yartzeit. The words of Kaddish on page 482. Those reciting Kaddish, please remain standing. If you find yourself sitting near someone who's standing up by themselves, stand up with them, that they might know that no one grieves and mourns alone when friends and community are present. Page 482. Yit gadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabba. Ve'almad divrach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei. B'chaye echon v'yom echon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'galau v'zman kari v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olmei maya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit ramam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela ule'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran v'alma v'yamru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. V'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Please be seated. Just one more moment. We call forward Bart Pacino, Executive Director of the community, for just a few announcements and greetings.
Be very brief because I know we have another service coming in. Thank you, Rabbi Feinstein, for your amazing words. Really meaningful. Cantor Barron, Chris Harden, the VBS choir, you sound great and really bring a lot of spirituality to tonight's service. For transportation and parking this year, we really ask that you consider using Uber and Lyft to get to synagogue tomorrow. This is especially important as we have a few fewer spaces for parking in the neighboring buildings tomorrow. Of course, if you need overflow parking, our parking attendants will direct you to those buildings, and you can have your ticket stamped, and we will honor it here at the usher table in the main hallway. There's also valet parking for members with valid disabled placards. Please keep in mind there may be a little wait for the valet to bring your car around at peak times, but there is a nice seating area at the valet pickup. Tomorrow afternoon, in addition to our family services in the morning, there is an afternoon service at 4 o'clock in Malkin-Burdorf. Any ticket holders from any service are welcome to attend that. Our services here in the main sanctuary will begin tomorrow at 7:45 a.m. That service is both for sanctuary and Malkin-Burdorf ticket holders, and at 9 a.m. reserved seating takes over here and the Malkin services begin. We really ask that you please participate in our annual project pushcart to help those in need. This year, as usual, we are collecting for SOVA, but we're also collecting new socks, t-shirts, and underwear for veterans. Collection stations are out near the Cinder parking lot. And our information tables also have materials to register for organ donation this year. Please take those materials home and literally save lives by registering. Finally, as we discussed on Rosh Hashanah, we hope you will consider participating in the synagogue annual campaign. If you donate $500 or more, you are invited to a special campaign event, which includes a tour of our new construction, a hard hat tour, on Sunday, October 7th. It'll be a really nice event. Finally, the last announcement, please clear the parking lot as soon as we can, as we have a second service here in the main sanctuary. On behalf of the officers, the board of directors, the trustees, and the staff, Shana Tova and Kamar Tov.
Two more quick things. Number one, Yossi Dresner, brilliant, wonderful teacher, great soul. Every year gathers a group of adults to study and celebrate an adult bar or bat mitzvah. My mom did this. It was the most wonderful thing she did. You couldn't get her to stop bragging about it. If you had a bar or bat mitzvah and it's so long ago you don't remember and you lost all the fountain pens, come do this with Yossi. They meet Tuesdays and Sundays, I think. If you never got a bar and bat mitzvah and you want one, imagine the joy and pride on your family's face when you step up to do an aliyah. It's a beautiful experience. Call the synagogue and say, Yossi, sign me up. It's a great experience. That's number one. Number two, fasting. The purpose of fasting is to concentrate the mind on the process of tshuva, the process of reflection and self-correction. It is not supposed to torture you. If you are pregnant, planning to be pregnant, you do not fast. If you're nursing, you do not fast. Number two, if you need to take medicine, you take your medicine. If your medicine needs to be taken with milk, juice, water, or a pork chop, you take it. Right? Not in front of me, just do it. Okay? Whatever you need. If you feel faint, it's going to be a warm day tomorrow. If you feel faint, you drink something. Drink some juice, get your sugar up. You take care of yourself. I want you back next year. Please take care of yourself. Third, there'll be a lot of people walking. Be very careful. The rabbi you run over might be the one who's leading your service tomorrow, so be really, really careful. We rise together. We turn to each other and say, Gomar Chatima Tova, a happy, sweet, and healthy New Year. Shana Tova.
Yigdal Elohim Chai V'yishtam Ba Nimtza Yoreh Gedulato